Hello everybody and welcome back. We got ourselves a fun video for today. What the video is going to be about is highlighting what I believe made EG as well as IG the two best teams in the world. So first we'll be highlighting EG and then we'll be highlighting IG. So for EG, I'm going to pull up a couple examples of what I believe to be their strongest part of their game, what I believe carried them a lot through the major, and what they just simply do better than anyone else.
Banana slam jam.
So what I believe made EG special is what they did in the early game. Their first 5 minutes was a work of art almost every game I watched. The early advantage in map rotations from Crit, as well as the little things that EG was to do in lanes that got them off to a good start, almost always in all three lanes. This is not only mechanics, it's not only understanding of like specific matchups, but it's also something they constructed in the draft with a very laid out, clean game plan of how they're going to set up their lanes, as well as like what every hero needed to be successful in the early game. And we've seen games in this tournament, even as far as like Thunder Predator, losing game 2 and game 3 of their series to make it to the final 4, where teams lose the game really in the first like 5 to 10 minutes. And so I want to highlight a few games where I think EG really shows their prowess and a couple examples of that. So first game we're gonna check out is EG versus PSG LGD, and this is game 2 of the upper bracket finals. They end up losing this game on EG. No spoilers, even though I just spoiled, but nonetheless, what exactly they were doing throughout the course of the tournament happened in full force this game. So what EG did a lot this tournament was they tri-laned. This was especially when they picked Tusk. So Tusk, one of the highest sought after meta 4 positions during this major. Obviously, we'll be seeing a different patch on Friday. What he does well is tag team. Like that's the signature spell of Tusk. And because tag team amps up the damage of all the heroes around him, it basically makes Tusk the best tri-laning position for, or really support in the entire game currently. So EG, whenever they picked Tusk, would almost always tri-lane, and they use this to usually get a strong solo matchup in the safe lane. Sometimes they'd even have Arteezy in the safe lane on a hero like Razor, which we may see in one of these examples. But in this case, they're putting Ice on Tidehunter against the Beastmaster. So in the draft, first and foremost, they picked the Tidehunter against the Beastmaster. This is a big part of it. Seems like such a small thing to maybe an average viewer, but this is a really good lane and game matchup because Beastmaster relies on a bunch of little summons to poke you down, and he has Kraken Shell and Anchor Smash to clear the summons, as well as protect himself from getting swarmed by the horde of beasts. While, on the other hand, they also have a carry who benefits from Tusk. The tag team is physical damage, and Alchemist being one of the many carries that either has an attack speed steroid, which helps you get the extra instances of damage, or a minus armor ability, which amps the tag team. So a bunch of little things add up here. So we're going to fast forward. We're talking about conceptually setting up these lanes. But I'm going to fast forward to the game start. So this isn't something that teams are exactly surprised by. EG has been doing this throughout the course of the major. LGD is fully aware of the possibilities of this. They're even trying to scout out with a ward to see, or a deep ward, excuse me, here to see what the lanes are. And LGD does know what the lanes are. So they've even rotated the Beastmaster to the bottom lane. So this comes from the very get-go. What Tusk needs is room to chase you, because he has a consistent slow from tag team, and as long as you don't feel comfortable walking past a specific line, the tag team is like threat of death. That's really what it is. So EG does something really cool. Crit. He's going to block the opponent wave such that it's going to go underneath LGD's tower and push immediately. So this is just something very small, but it is oh so important to what EG is going to be doing in this lane. So Fly, yeah, tanks little tower shots, whatever. Xingqiu tries to do the same thing, but now the lane's going to push. And then they're just going to 3-man deny a creep. They're just trying to get as many denies as they possibly can. But notice, the lane's pushing, and this is where things get good. So a lot of times, as a 4 position in this tournament, or in competitive Dota in general, it's really important to understand like when you're supposed to leave the lane. And a lot of times we've seen like aggro tri-lanes where maybe it's just for the first wave. Maybe they do something where the Tusk does something like this, and then he immediately goes and helps the Tidehunter. But because Tidehunter should do okay top with levels, notice how he's even leveling defensively on Ice. This requires every player to understand what situation he's in. This is something you hardly see ever, but he's just getting right-clicked a lot by a gyro. Crit has a crucial understanding here. So first they manipulate the creep lane equilibrium. They get it exactly where they want. EG.Arteezy does the BSJ preached a billion times over, keep the lane where it is, pull it back mechanic, where he aggroes onto his own range. Little things are going to start adding up here. So he aggroes onto his own range, he's going to get the deny on his own range, and this is most notably going to keep the lane back here. But if you think about it, Coddle Alch aren't really scary. You know, if it's just a Keeper of the Light Alchemist, Beastmaster wouldn't be afraid of walking up, maybe going for a defensive creep aggro, maybe going for a CS or two. But notice, we're going to rewind even a bit because we were focused on what Arteezy was doing there. Crit is going to walk over and block the small camp to make sure it can't get pulled back, making sure there's nothing that they can do to fix the lane. While Fly blocked the hard camp. There are so many moving pieces here where each individual has to do exactly what they need to do. And EG executed the better than any other team in the world. So, because now the lane's here, and Coddle Alch are not much of a threat, look at what Crit does. He knows he can't leave yet. He knows that he is the sole reason that Beastmaster cannot walk up in lane, because he's all of their damage, all of their crowd control, the slow coming out from tag team. So he's just going to pause you. He's just going to stand over here while Arteezy's absolutely free farming. So we're going to actually see a really high-level play from XinQ here. He realizes, there's actually nothing we can do about this. Arteezy's just maintaining lane equilibrium over here like a good carry should. And XinQ's like, well, I guess we're going to do some fancy reverse creep cutting that you usually see the offlaners do from the safe lane. And he's going to respond with this. So, you may say, okay, well, looks like EG's had a nice try there. They're going to get Alch off to a decent start. But notice what Crit sees here. This is the beauty of EG. Move 1 from example 1 here. Crit, his importance in the bottom lane was to make it so Beastmaster could not walk up. He was making it so that the Beastmaster was going to get zoned. But because the Pangolier cut the creeps and is now stacked up a creep wave, no matter what EG does, the lane's going to push back into the Beastmaster. So now, Crit has absolutely no purpose bottom because of what Pangolier did. And he's going to immediately TP top into a lane where IceIceIce is struggling a little bit, right? He's only got 3 CS to the 10 of PA. So even though IceIceIce has been there to fend for himself for a bit, obviously he's not in the ideal scenario because he's been left 1v2. So Crit immediately recognizes his job bottom is done. And he's going to TP right at the 2-minute mark to the outpost and get a pull-off immediately because he sees that the PA was keeping the lane out. He wants to help his offlaner get some levels, and he's going to pull. Suddenly, the Tide that had a bit of a rough start, who scales really well in lane against a hero like PA because PA doesn't do much against Kraken Shell. Notice how he's even taking a second point in Kraken Shell. He's now just guarding his Tide for a little bit, and then the next part's going to come out. So we're going to fast forward a bit. He's threatening the pull again, making this effectively a 1v1 between the Tide and the PA. And now Tide just out-leveling PA. Alchemist is absolutely free-farming bottom, level 4 to level 3 of the Beastmaster. And he's like, okay, I've salvaged top. Like, top's fine now. Look at IceIceIce's CS. Last time we checked, it was 3 to 11. Now, it's 15 to 19. He's like, okay, salvaged. Top's good now. How about the third lane? Abed, level 4.5. DP out-leveling him slightly, 21 to 4, 18 to 0. So, mid lane, a little bit rough for EG. He's going to camp the runes and salve Abed. The Crit's literally single-handedly winning all 3 lanes for EG here. In this specific example, we're seeing what Crit does. So, he's going to draw a little attention to himself. He tried to camp the rune, but didn't work just because of the unlucky 50-50. And I believe he's going to salve him again. So, he has now salved Abed twice. He has given IceIceIce a game. He's given bottom lane the advantage. And now, he's going to go back bottom in order to help secure bounty runes at the 5-minute mark. Ends up taking the bounty rune from the Pangolier. Now they're looking to dive Faith Beyond. And this is where we're going to wrap up example 1. I'm a firm believer that EG plays the first 5 minutes of the game far better than any other team in the world. We're going to pull up at least one more example after this one. But it just shows from every player's perspective how they fit into this game plan. And this one, we specifically highlighted Crit and everything he did amazingly well throughout the early game. These rotations were absolutely flawless. The lane setup, followed by exactly dedicating the resources that they need to the right place. And it just nets them a 1k lead at the 5.5 minute mark, despite LGD having the two highest CSers in the game. You may say they have an Alchemist, yada, yada, yada. But I assure you, it would be this way with any other carry in the game, even if they didn't have an Alchemist. So, let's pull up another example. So this example from EG is going to be much shorter and much sweeter, but it's going to be showing how good they were at hitting their early game timings. And this is like such a clean-cut example of being so efficient that it catches the opponent off guard. So in this case, the timing for EG is that Abed gets level 3, where most Storm Spirits level their pull, while Crit is dragging a wave behind his tower, about to get level 2. So let's see what happens here. We're going to play real slow. So Abed's going to get his level 3 underneath tower here. And Nothing to Say, who's winning the lane right now, being super aggro, is playing up in his face. Crit is going to get level 2 off the next creep that dies underneath tower. And he's going to walk into the trees, where Y just saw him. He now TP's mid, with Abed just getting level 3. Nothing to Say is playing aggressive. He gets level 2, TP's in, rolls on Nothing to Say, kicks him in, and Abed pulls him underneath tower. And they get a crucial kill in a lane that normally is momentum favored for the Death Prophet. Little things like this we saw all tournament throughout from EG. The little timings they hit that other teams are just not ready for is what was responsible for getting them to a lot of their early leads as well. For my last example, I want to show you a play that to me on paper looked very strange. Like immediately. But I'm going to show you the small dynamics that I think would make Fly and Arteezy one of the best safe lane dual lanes in the entire world, if not the best. So what we're going to see here is that EG hits level 2 before IG does. Usually, this is not like a crazy concept. If you hit level 2 before the opponent, you want to take advantage of it. So let's watch what happens here in normal speed. Where Arteezy just rages, runs at JT, doesn't hit him a single time, and IG gets their level 2. And this is another example of a small timing where at first I was like, why did Arteezy rage in there? Like, that didn't really do anything. But we've talked all the time about obligations for the opponent, making it so that you're forcing engagements when they're wanting to do something else. So this is a incredibly small power spike in the sense that Lifestealer is not some crazily strong level 2 hero. And even though DP is decent with the Spirit Siphon, she's not crazily strong either compared to level 1. But what EG's going to do here is that you have one creep that's about to die right here. And then because this creep goes right here, I swear to you, look at this. Because this creep is right here, that means for EG that any move they make is bullying IG away from 2 creeps. They do this all the time. This is a lane that EG actually ended up winning in the first 3 or 4 levels, and I assure you, Lifestealer is not supposed to win against Mars Lion, even though he has a decently strong 5-position hero in the Death Prophet. But by running at them at this exact moment, Arteezy, who doesn't hit JT a single time, is able to threaten with the rage, turn around and get a deny, and then walk back and get another deny on his own range creep in a lane where usually Mars is a very difficult hero to deny a range creep to, because of how reliable it is for him to get it with God's Rebuke. There's these little denies and little aggro tricks that EG does all the time, and I was watching it throughout the course of the entire tournament from Fly and Arteezy, and just those extra couple denies get you that early laning advantage, and this is an example of a matchup where Lifestealer early is a pretty weak carry, at least in this patch, before they buff him next patch because he sucks. And he's expected to lose the early levels. But as he gets more and more points up in Feast, more and more points up in his attack speed slow passive, he's able to outtrade the Mars eventually, if they're on equal footing. So because of these little moves, EG's able to navigate through the weaker portions of their lane and come out in a playable situation once Lifestealer is now ready to fight, so that the Mars hasn't taken too much control of the lane. So I think it's now time for me to highlight what I believe made IG the other finalist team. We talked about EG's prowess in the early game. It's not like that's all they do, right? But I think that's what really sets them apart from everyone else. And now I'm going to show you not the only thing that I believe IG does right, but what also sets them apart from everyone else in the world. And so with IG, we're going to be highlighting teamfight coordination and execution. I think it was by far the best in the entire tournament. And we're going to show you what I believe to be some of the best examples of exactly what they did. So we're going to show game 1 of IG versus PSG LGD loser bracket finals as our first example. So let's pull it up. And I really want to highlight target priority. So for pretty much all of these examples, Fly is going to be a crucial part of this because oftentimes the carries like the crucial damage to follow somebody up. But we're going to see all types of examples coming out from IG here, and this is going to be the first one. So the reason why I was so impressed by IG's coordination and target priority is not only were they always on the same page, clearly they had good communication of who they wanted to focus, but they also seemed to focus the right target despite it being a situation where I definitely would have focused somebody else. And even watching, I remember watching this specific clip with Gunner and being like, wasn't he supposed to just go in and hit the egg? So what we're going to see here is a situation where an exception is correct rather than the rule. So the rule that most high-level players are aware of, or think of at least, is that when an opponent enemy Phoenix eggs, you either disengage from the egg or you all focus the egg. That's usually like the standard decision that is forced upon you the second the Phoenix uses egg. But we're going to see exactly what IG does here. They're going to force Y to use egg, and then they're actually going to turn around and focus the Death Prophet. This is the crazy part to me. I feel like 90% of players, if not more, pro players in this scenario would have all hit the egg. Like the Morphling would have immediately waveformed on top of the egg with his Mars and killed this Phoenix egg. However, if you actually look, since he has so much damage from his supports, Lion and Ancient Apparition are heavy burst damage heroes, and if he were to go to the right, he would be creating a situation where his supports wouldn't be able to help him. Fly, as well as the support duo from IG, immediately turn and focus the Death Prophet. Gets the spear on a Death Prophet, and instead of killing the egg and then disengaging, they kill the Death Prophet underneath the egg, utilizing whatever resources they can. This one's honestly mainly Fly, and then they're just going to disengage from the egg afterwards. And what happens that I saw from IG every single game is that they removed the hero that was most crucial to the opponent team winning the team fight, or like just being able to team fight in the first place. Death Prophet, the minute he dies with Exorcism, there's not going to be a buyback. There's not going to be some team fight that LGD wants to take afterwards. Death Prophet in this specific instance is the X factor, even though Egg is usually considered one of the most important team fight abilities. So the fact that they had the presence of mind to completely turn their attention away from this egg that usually draws so much to it, immediately focus the Death Prophet. The supports got away from the ultimate just in time. The Mars even threw a spear at the Death Prophet. They get this crucial kill, and then they're going to back off. And this is what IG did better than what I saw any other team in the tournament. So let's check out a few more examples. So a quick bonus little tidbit for Fly here. Did an amazing little adjustment on Troll where we were watching this game and everyone's like, why did he max his Q? Like, don't trolls most of the time either max Fervor for attacking Ancients or max Whirling Axes to get their farming speed accelerated? Well, in this case, the only benefit to really leveling your Q, other than a little bit of movement speed, is the ensnare chance on top of the ensnare duration. And he's dealing with 3 enemy heroes, the Pangolier, the Storm, as well as the PA, who at this point in the game purely rely on their mobility skills to function and will be vulnerable to getting permanented. So we see Fly actually go for Berserker's Rage max first ability, and he's going to find Abed while farming, and actually is able to just lock him full to 0 with the net. That's just one little thing that I think Fly blew my mind with this unique skill build. So this next example might be one of the most impressive team fights I've ever seen, to be quite frank. So we're going to set up the picture a little bit here. So IG leads the fight off by ulting crit with Rupture. So crit's a 4 position Pango, but still Rupture's pretty good against him. So they're going to use Death Prophet ultimate, and I assure you that the majority of teams would force a Death Prophet exorcism and be like, dope, let's like disengage and wait for the exorcism to run out, and then we're gonna like be able to win a fight or take an objective after that because they don't have a really strong ultimate. But IG, rather than disengaging, immediately smokes. And we're going to watch Fly's perspective here. So he's going to walk up this hill into an ulted Death Prophet. He's going to be hitting a BKB Death Prophet, who's right in front of his face. And watch what the entire IG team is doing here. Kaka is going to loop around. This is the benefit of the smoke. Even if there was a ward here from EG, they don't have the information for like PA to jump and burst the lion. And Kaka's going to give the quick wrap around. There's going to be that blink hex onto the PA. And as this is happening, that was 28-21. Let's go back to what Troll's doing. Blink hex on the PA from Kaka. He's going to walk towards the Death Prophet and then immediately go to the PA. Watch this at 28-21. That's when the hex happened, right? 28-21. He immediately ignores a ulted Death Prophet running straight past him, as well as Emo committing onto the fight. And they immediately four-man focus this PA before he can get his BKB off. Doesn't get his BKB off until 300 HP, and they managed to burst Arteezy with him having virtually no impact on the fight. The fact that there were so many moving parts in this equation, starting with the smoke, having the audacity to fight into an already ulted Death Prophet, and then having the entire enemy team or entire IG squad collapse on Arteezy with the reach around blink hex from Kaka, some of the sickest lion play I've seen. I think he was the best lion player in the world after watching this tournament. And then focus firing Arteezy in the back. So for this next example, we're going to see what many would call the beginning of the end for EG. This is game 3, where they're up 2-0, and they're up by 8k, 46 minutes in the game. Not some substantial lead, but we're going to see IG at their finest, highlighting Kaka as well as Emo here. So what we're going to see is that Kaka is underneath a sentry. He is ulted on Nyx, and EG is going to see him. So they're going to jump with the Storm Spirit, trying to catch him out. But Kaka's going to react just in time with the Carapace. Gets the Carapace off. Emo just purchased his Hex. Instantly hexes Abed. And even though Crit is able to kick Abed away, nearly saving him, look at how Flyfly. Look at Flyfly right here. He's got Crit in front of him. He's got Arteezy here. He's going to immediately stop hitting whoever's in front of him and go follow Abed in the back lines. And Emo plus Abed are going, or Emo plus Flyfly are going to burst Abed down in the back. I just want to highlight this remnant from Emo here. What a sick remnant. Just sick play overall, but the emphasis on all these examples is the target priority and coordination that IG has, as well as just overall button pressing. Like Kaka getting that Carapace off at the very start of the fight prevents himself from getting bursted, and then immediately turning and bursting Abed with no buyback. For my last couple examples, I want to take Game 5 EG versus IG. And to the casual viewer, I believe there were a lot of memes going on in chat. I also believe a lot of people were being unnecessarily hard on IceIceIce. What I would like to highlight from this game is that while EG appeared to make some blunders, there's definitely things they probably could have done better. But I want to highlight how well IG played around every ability that EG has. So let's just look at this first execution that was absolutely incredible to me. So we're going to see Arteezy. He's not taunted. This is just a bug because I rewound the replay. They see him on a ward. IceIceIce sitting behind him. He's not BKB. That's also a replay bug. They're going to blink Hex Arteezy. Follow it up with a Haunt. First note is that Flyfly is going to Haunt. He's going to get all the information he needs. They already knew Enigma was here, but he's not going to reality to his illusion. So he's followed up his team. He's given a little bit of damage from his Haunt illusion plus the Desolate, but he's not going to Haunt. Then, after Kaka impales plus fingers, let's emphasize that he has used all of his abilities as quickly as possible. Like he's not holding on to finger to see if they can burst him or anything. He's going to throw every spell in the book at Arteezy, and then he's going to sidestep to the right. He immediately backs off. Immediately dodges where IceIceIce is going to hole. Then Ollie swoops in, interrupts his own dive, and eggs immediately. And Emo astral steps in and immediately dissimulates. To the average viewer, this looks like a zero-man black hole. What the fuck is IceIceIce doing? If Phoenix had not immediately egged, if Spectre had haunted into her illusion, if Emo had not instantly dissimilated, and Kaka had not instantly blown all of his abilities and walked to the right, this would have been a four-man black hole team white, probably major, going to EG, because they're already up by 6,000 gold at 28 minutes into the game. Absolutely stellar play, while JT also finishes off Arteezy. Flyfly then haunts in at the end of the fight, and instead, it's a zero-man black hole by IceIceIce. And these are the type of plays where, yes, you know, it looks really bad for IceIceIce. You're like, no, what is he doing? But if you really look at what happened here, I believe this is just absolutely incredible play from IG that outclassed them. For our last and final example, the nail in the coffin that sealed IG the major. Yes, they have an overwhelming lead 37 minutes in the game, especially when they have the Spectre versus Lifestealer matchup. Spectre known to be a much stronger late game carry than Lifestealer. Looks like everything's in the bag for them, but I want to give one last shout out to Flyfly for his execution in this team fight, because I believe that this was the best Spectre performance I've seen since Ana at TI. I want to show you how flashy and well executed a team fight can be by a carry such as Spectre that does not come off as a flashy hero. So let's check out their wards. IG is set up on the Radiant jungle. EG is completely missing. They are all smoked, ready to battle. IG obviously is aware that something's happening, but they don't see anything. And the fight's going to break out. Tusk breaks smoke. They're going to jump on the Mars. Emo is going to immediately haunt to try to... This is basically a combo breaker haunt. He knows there's follow-up from the Enigma potentially coming, so he immediately haunts. But he doesn't haunt to save his teammates. He realities on top of the heroes that are smoked in order to break the smoke, first and foremost, because the haunt illusions do not break the smoke.
Banana slime jam!
Okay, back to the fucking replay. So, he haunts on top, he realities on top of the heroes that are smoked, and look what he does. He's actually going to walk and fly, forcing him a little bit to the left. Then he's going to haunt on top of IceIceIce, which breaks IceIceIce's smoke, and forces Fly to run to the left in order to protect IceIceIce, which effectively isolates the rest of EG during the egg, and then he proceeds to focus Arteezy without the Enigma being able to do anything about it. And this is just, to me, like absolutely beautiful individual execution. Yes, the game's pretty much in their hands, but this is like exactly what you could possibly ask out of teamfight execution. I personally believe one of my biggest weakest points as a carry player is teamfight awareness execution, as well as target priority. And I do believe Flyfly was the best carry at doing this throughout the course of the tournament, as well as the rest of IG as a whole. So that's it for this video. Just really highlighting what I believe made these two teams the absolute two best teams in the world. At the end of the day, IG ended up having EG's number, reverse sweeping them 3-2. But I was really excited for this grand finals overall. It was a great series. Highly encourage you guys to watch it. Pretty much all the games except for Game 2 were really close, or at least interesting to watch. So definitely encourage you guys to check it out, because incredible plays from both teams. EG, really well known for their early game prowess, the mechanical things that get them off to a lead, and overall turning that into a snowball effect where they just take over the entire map, while IG, team fight selection, in terms of who they fight, when they fight, who they kill, who they focus, is just absolutely world class. So really enjoyed this major. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, just highlighting some of what I believe to be the crucial points for both these teams, and thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that shenanigans, because at the end of the day, YouTube does care about that. You may not care about it, I may not care about it, but the YouTube algorithm does. So please do.